Mille belle la moustache e la camuccia. Sito patanillo, mila tacca, tiki puletica. Sito patanillo, mila tacca, tiki puletica. Sito patanillo, mila tacca, tiki puletica. Sito patanillo, mila tacca, tiki tacca, tiki. Sito patanillo, mila tacca, tiki puletica. Sito patanillo, mila tacca, tiki puletica. Sito patanillo, mila tacca, tiki puletica. Mille belle la moustache e la camuccia.
What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show. And today I'm doing a segment that I call The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But because of such a great and convincing win by the Washington Raging Tide last Sunday, I'm going to call this segment The Good, the Bad, and the Brilliant. So we're going to jump right into it. I like to get bad news first because bad news is just the best thing to do. So when you get to the good news and the brilliant news, everything's alright. So first, I'm going to start off with the bad. The bad was the play calling at the beginning of the game. Now, I will say this. Scott Turner is still learning how to, one, deal with not only Dwayne Haskins and the weapons that are around him currently right now, but he's also learning how to sit up there and basically maintain control of a game. I know he has some experience towards the end of Carolina, but this is the NFC East. He himself has never coached in the NFC East, so the fact that he was getting this very great experience starting out was something about it. Now, I will also say this. He should have incorporated some of his dad's old blocking schemes by bringing in like a jumbo package to start the game off. Because if he had did that, then you're talking about, Dwayne Haskins wouldn't have seen as much pressure as he did early in the game, and he wouldn't have had some of the mistakes that he had early in the game. Not really mistakes, but missing guys, overthrowing guys, things like that. He probably wouldn't have had that if Scott Turner would have used his dad's jumbo package and would have brought that in at the beginning of the game to kind of, alleviate the pressure that Dwayne Haskins was going to see at the beginning of the game. But again, like I said, the play calling was very questionable in the beginning of the game. When it comes to the offense, they went 3 and out twice in a row and just kept going out. So that was one of the bads of the game. Bad number 2, for a minute I thought Jack Del Rio liked his defense the way he liked his politics. Way too conservative. So at the beginning, the defensive line was playing, but they were getting put in so many different situations. From how I looked at the game, Kevin Pierre-Louis kind of got out of position several times. He got beat on a really bad tight end post. Didn't see that coming. And I think he got beat again on the second tight end pass for a touchdown. So the beginning of the game, play calling for the offense and the defense was bad. The other thing was not getting Terry McLaurin involved very quickly. Again, if he'd have brought in a jumbo package, which would have helped even that left side of the line, that would have given Dwayne Haskins and Terry McLaurin more time to really operate and more time to get into a rhythm prior to the second half of the game. So with that being said, the last thing that is on the side of bad, this left side of the offensive line, I told y'all I always liked Sadiq Charles. He was one of the guys that I said we should draft in my pre-draft show. He was one of the guys that I said could take over for Trent because he's just that good. Gerard Christian is a very shaky guy. And, when it comes down to it, their left side kind of got blitzed very early on. And they just seemed like they were struggling a little bit. Now, again, they did settle down in the second half. But, again, I just feel that even with that being said, there's not a lot of skill on that left side. I do feel that if Scott Turner, again, had set up there and brought in like a jumbo package to start the game off, I think he would have given them offensive linemen a better chance. But again, those were the bads. Bads weren't that bad, but they were bad enough to, have us go down 17-0 early in the game. Now the good. The good is also the good is also the fact that Jack Del Rio was able to adjust in game. So there was one particular time where I think he took Sean Dion Hamilton out of the game and inserted Cameron Curl as a third safety. That was actually a very smart move. That's something that even when it comes to the Raging Tide, that we aren't used to in-game adjustments. The years of having Jay Gruden here and all the defensive coordinators that were here, they seem to stick to the scheme. Whereas, to me, it seemed like not only did they stick to the scheme, but when the coaches saw that the scheme wasn't working, they manipulated a little bit, taking out a player. I was actually surprised that Jimmy Moreland started the game opposite of Ronald Darby. So that was actually a shocker. Even though Fabian Moreau caught the interception, he almost walked away with 3 interceptions for real, but he only got 1. The fact that happened, I was very shocked about that. But again, they looked very, very good. Was glad about that. Jack Del Rio did a good job of adjusting in game and at the same time doing exactly what he needed to do to make sure that the defense kind of hunkered down. Dwayne Haskins. One thing that we all realize and know is that Dwayne Haskins is very good when it comes to the 2-minute offense. And it was on display again. Towards the end of the first half, 2-minute offense comes in, he marches the team down the field, gets a touchdown. I hope Scott Turner really pays attention to that, because to me it seems like Dwayne Haskins does show more promise when he's in the shotgun, running a 2-minute offense, or something that's a little bit faster, where his decision making is much quicker. And a lot of that I think is because he has such a quick release with the football, that I think that for him, if things move very fast, he's able to get stuff out of there immediately. Terry McLaurin comes in. Terry McLaurin starts showing up at the second half of the game. Again, very, very good. I'm glad Dwayne Haskins is very, very, is still dialed in enough. I feel he's going to have an incredible season. But again, that's one of my goods. My other good is, I have to admit it, I couldn't understand the draft pick. I didn't understand the draft pick. But I will say this, Antonio Gibson didn't look bad. He didn't look amazing, but he also didn't look bad. He will have to learn to switch hands when it comes to running with that football, because he runs with it a little too far away from his body, and when he's running to the sideline, he tends to have the ball in. He ran to the left sideline and he had the ball in his right hand, and the ball was away from his body. So that's something he's definitely going to have to work on. But again, it was good to see that he wasn't just some gimmicky player, because it looks like they really do want to do something with him. I did notice that he didn't play much towards the second half of the game. I don't know if that was an injury concern or if they didn't want to overwhelm him with running the ball that much. But again, like I said, it's a good thing. He wasn't bad. He wasn't terrible. I mean, my expectations weren't high, so maybe I'm giving him too much credit at this point. But again, he wasn't bad, so I'm going to give him a good. The other thing that was good was to actually see the secondary not be the reason that they were going to lose the game. Jimmy Moreland played very, very well. So did Fabian Moreau. Ronald Darby, I didn't see him make much of an impact, but he did. He must have did somewhat of a good job, because Ward wasn't in the game that much, which I'm guessing Ronald Darby kind of followed him around. even though Jalen Reagor kind of like was burning him. But again, the fact that the secondary wasn't the cause of that is pretty incredible to me. So that also gets a good. Now, my last but not least is my brilliant. And I have to say this, and say this with conviction. This front defensive 8, when it comes to just the defensive line, the 8 guys on the defensive line, are incredible. I mean, the fact that you're talking about what is basically a full first-round pick line, other than Ioannidis, Settle, and Ryan Anderson, everybody on that defensive line is actually a first-round pick, including Ryan Kerrigan. So the fact that Ryan Kerrigan, that's another thing. Ryan Kerrigan played a great game. Not only that, he showed that he still has a lot of energy in the tank. And that, maybe letting him go towards the end of this next year may not be the right move. We might need him to stay around a little bit longer. But again, like I said, that defensive line looks great. I call the Washington franchise the Raging Tide because they look like the Crimson Tide. But when it comes to that defensive line, they look like a Raging Tide because they were relentless. Not only that, this is what we had been expecting all the time from what this team was going to be. We thought that this team, this defensive line, was going to be the strength of this team. And man, if they didn't show it on Sunday. So with that, I have to say I'm so proud that this defensive line is living up to expectations finally. I just feel that Jack Del Rio did a very good job, especially in the second half, and when he came up to scheming certain things and actually getting them open. I will say this, only thing I kind of don't consider brilliant was the fact that you can see when the blitz was coming. My concern about that is when we face teams that know how to pick up the blitz. So that is one of the things that we really need to fix, not make the blitz so obvious. But again, like I said, I can't say enough about this defensive line. The linebackers, the new linebacker structure doesn't look bad. Kevin Pierre-Louis, he doesn't look bad, but you can tell he has coverage problems. Hopefully that won't hurt him as he goes along in the season. Also, I'll say this, Troy Apke didn't play bad, but I do see him eventually being benched for Cameron Curl, who I have to admit, y'all, is a very good tackler and a far better cover person than y'all can think. He does play corner, but I mean, he in college he was a great cornerback, and then they moved him to safety. But on Sunday he looked very good. So, like I said, I just can't say enough about this defense. This defense looks great. It looks pretty good. On to Arizona. We will now get a glimpse of a running quarterback who is just as dangerous on the run as he is throwing the ball. We also will see the wide receiver group that is going to probably be a very dangerous group for us. I mean, Hopkins had 150 yards receiving the first on Sunday. So, I mean, we're definitely going to see something that is really different for us. So, on to Arizona, defense played great. Got to adjust some of the play calling. I think Scott Turner should use some of his dad's jumbo package running plays to really help this offensive line. Jack Del Rio needs to hide the blitz in a little bit, just so people don't know that it's coming. And at the same time, I have to say, hopefully Dwayne Haskins just gets in his groove a little bit earlier and things like that. Again, McLaurin is going to be the man. Inman, he looks like he might be a pretty good route runner. And, of course, Steven Sims, he caught a couple passes. So, again, like I said, y'all, great win. I initially predicted the score and then screwed up and then came up with the later score. So, again, Just a good time. Glad that everything is going on. I would get into Dan Snyder and his foolishness, but you know what? Right now, we're on the brilliant. We ain't got time for the stupid. This has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.